You would absolutely never imagine it. There once existed a creature on Earth with 5 eyes and something like a vacuum cleaner on its head, specialized in hunting small prey on the seafloor. This was Opabinia, a strange marine creature from 500 million years ago. When paleontologists first saw its fossil, they were completely stunned, because the appearance of this thing completely overturned humanity's understanding of life. Just imagine it. A monster that looks like a shrimp with 5 eyes lined up on its head. 2 of the eyes at the back are especially large, like searchlights monitoring prey. Even more outrageous, on top of its head grows a long, thin, tubular appendage, like an elephant's trunk. But the end of it is a claw with barbs, specifically used to grab prey. Scientists once even thought this thing was an alien life form, because no living animal on Earth has even the slightest relation to it. The Cambrian Ocean 500 million years ago was basically a crazy laboratory of life. Nature was like a drunken designer, piling all kinds of absurd shapes onto living creatures. And Opabinia was one of the weirdest participants in that crazy party. But do you know? The discovery of this bizarre creature was actually an accident. In 1909, American paleontologist Walcott was in the Rocky Mountains of Canada. He stepped on a piece of dark shale. No one expected that this ordinary-looking stone beneath his feet would hide a secret that would shock the world. It took him 2 full years before in 1911 he finally dug out 9 strange fossils from the shale. At first glance, it looked like a flattened little shrimp. But looking carefully, what shrimp? This clearly looked like a visitor from outer space. Walcott himself was baffled, because according to biological classification, this creature simply did not fit anywhere. It was neither a fish nor a shrimp nor any known arthropod. It seemed to appear out of thin air in the fossil record, as if it had traveled from another universe. Even more maddening was the body structure of Opabinia, which basically broke all the rules. Its 5 eyes form a trapezoid. The 2 at the back are the largest, like 2 giant searchlights. The 2 in front are slightly smaller, and there's another one in the middle. This configuration gave it almost a 360-degree field of vision. At that time, most organisms hadn't even evolved eyes yet, but Opabinia already seemed to have installed 5 high-definition cameras. This visual range would make even today's top predators jealous. But what truly left scientists speechless was that bizarre vacuum cleaner. This tubular appendage extending from its head was about 1/3 the length of its body. The end was not a suction cup, but a barbed claw. Scientists speculate that Opabinia used this appendage to rummage through the mud on the seafloor. When it encountered small worms or other prey, it would grab them with the claw and then, like a conveyor belt, deliver the food to its mouth beneath the head. This operation was even more flexible than modern robotic arms. Even more amazing, along both sides of Opabinia's body were 14 pairs of paddle-like limbs. These limbs kept waving, allowing it to swim through the water. Although it wasn't very fast, in that era it was already high technology, because most organisms at that time were still crawling along the seabed, while Opabinia was basically already driving an electric scooter. However, this seemingly powerful hunter was actually quite pitiful in the Cambrian Ocean. Why? Because it was only 4 to 7 centimeters long, not even as long as your finger. In that brutal era of survival of the fittest, there was something above it, the ultimate Cambrian overlord, Anomalocaris. Anomalocaris could reach 1 meter in length, more than 10 times larger than Opabinia. For Opabinia, Anomalocaris was basically a moving god of death. Once it was targeted, it was almost certainly doomed. So Opabinia's survival strategy was not direct confrontation. Instead, it relied on caution. It would lurk in the mud on the seafloor, using its 5 eyes to constantly watch its surroundings. Once it detected the presence of Anomalocaris, it would immediately dive into the sediment to hide or squeeze into cracks between rocks. This extremely cautious lifestyle allowed it to tenaciously survive in the dangerous Cambrian Ocean. But the truly remarkable thing about Opabinia was not how strong it was. It was that it witnessed one of the greatest events in the history of life on Earth, the Cambrian explosion. During that magical era, in just a few million years, Earth produced more biodiversity than in the previous 4 billion years. All kinds of bizarre creatures sprang up like bamboo shoots after rain. There were 5-eyed Opabinias, spiny hallucigenia, giant predators like Anomalocaris, and armored trilobites. The entire ocean became a crazy arena of evolutionary competition. How exactly this explosion happened has been debated by scientists for over 100 years. Some say the oxygen level in the atmosphere suddenly increased. Others say the chemical environment of the ocean changed. Still others believe it was caused by innovations in genetic regulatory mechanisms. But whatever the cause, Opabinia was one of the most unique witnesses of that era. Its existence tells us that the possibilities of life are far more outrageous than we can imagine. However, this bizarre species ultimately could not escape extinction. After the Cambrian period ended, Opabinia disappeared from the fossil record. Its 5 eyes, its vacuum-like trunk, its strange body structure all became history. No similar creature ever appeared on Earth again. But in 2022, scientists in Wales, UK announced a shocking discovery. They found a relative of Opabinia, a fossil creature called Utaurora. This organism lived 470 million years ago, which is 40 million years later than scientists previously believed Opabinia-like animals existed. This means these 5-eyed monsters survived on Earth much longer than we imagined. This discovery completely rewrote our understanding of the Opabinia family. It turns out they didn't go extinct at the end of the Cambrian. They actually persisted stubbornly into the Ordovician period. In those more modern oceans, when snails, corals, and cephalopods began to flourish, these ancient 5-eyed creatures were still quietly living on the seafloor. Such resilience across deep time is truly awe-inspiring. Imagine it. In the oceans 500 million years ago, tiny Opabinias scanning their surroundings with 5 eyes, searching through mud for food with that strange trunk. They were not the strongest nor the biggest, but they witnessed the great transformation of life from simple to complex. In their own peculiar way, they found the meaning of survival in that crazy age. Even today, we may never fully understand why nature created such a bizarre creature. What exactly were the 5 eyes for? Why did that strange trunk evolve that way? These mysteries may remain buried forever on the seafloor of 500 million years ago. But the existence of Opabinia itself is already a miracle. It reminds us that the evolution of life never follows common sense. It is full of accidents, full of surprises, and full of infinite possibilities. So next time you feel that the world is dull and ordinary, think about Opabinia. Think about that little creature with 5 eyes and a vacuum-like trunk struggling to survive on the seafloor 500 million years ago. It will remind you that this universe is always far more fascinating than you imagine.